Welcome back to Elba. In the last episode, we've built our tourist center over here, but as you can see, there's a lot of issues going on. We have to deal with a little bit of traffic, but most importantly, ambulance, hearse demand, and everything, which might be in part because we were lacking water supply for our, garbage, actually, services for our local pumping station, water pumping station, but I think it is worthwhile to start dealing with some of this. So first we're going to build a small medical clinic, which I think is perfect for our touristy area because tourists do get injured quite a lot. In order to place this, we're going to move the water park over a little bit. Not too much, but that will give us enough space over here at this roundabout to actually place down our small medical clinic. And this contains 3 ambulances, capacity for 25 patients. So in a sense, I want to say quite appropriate for a tourist spot. Right across from the basketball center and right next to the water park, of course. So if anything happens, you know, tourists can bring their kids in or go in there by themselves. Last time we had also talked about flattening out the area up here and putting in our cemetery, and that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. It will serve the purpose, although now all the death care has been taken care of, but it will serve the purpose if we do end up with needing more death care, but also it is a nice park for our tourists to come and visit and just get a great look over that forestry part and, you know, a little bit of the ocean. It is built a little bit further up again, so this way we have sorted out the drainage, which again I think will be quite beneficial. Now I would love to place that big cemetery, and what we are going to try, and I do think it will actually just eat into the mountain, but I'm hoping maybe if we place it like, yeah. That just directly ate into it. Alright. Which I guess we could honestly just leave. We're just gonna clean up around it. Take a little bit more soil away. And then we're going to make sure that we are smoothing the sides of the wall up here. Now, in order to make this a bit more of an attractive area, we're gonna take out this part of the mountain too, and then turn this up here in a bit more of a pedestrian zone, so people can walk around and ultimately just enjoy the landscape a little bit more. Now, this seems a little bit, I guess it is solid stone, or it looks like solid stone, so that might not be too bad. But again, look at that view. Now you do see the medical center, but with a little bit of landscaping, I think overall this area up here will actually be quite a luxury to have. Alright, first thing we're going to do, of course, is make sure our cemetery is connected to the road. We're going to utilize this roundabout to bring that road up this way. There we go, smooth out the edges a little bit, and then we can bring up our alleyway, and that actually fits in here quite nicely. Gonna make sure we have a right angle up here, and then we're just gonna very casually kind of turn it into that roundabout that we have over this way. All right. With this, we do have a road connection up here, but of course we need some more pedestrian connections, which means we should try to make our way up from this road. And with that, we have our first pedestrian path up here from this side, and we're gonna make that secondary connection from over here. Just into this corner. I don't know about this retention wall, so we're gonna delete this part and add it back in. All right, based on this, we have a pathway now up to this area right here. And that will also allow us to put in another park. And maybe we even have space for a larger park area. I don't mind that hedge park, to be honest. It does need access to the road, but we do have our alleyway out here in front. So let's extend that alleyway a little bit more and bring it around this side so we can put down our hedge park and then make sure we are connecting it up properly with this path right here. Even better, it has a little stage up here, which I think would be nice for poetry readings or some smaller events that are kind of related to the hotel. The hotel might even rent this out, assuming that they own it, to conferences or things like this, maybe wedding venues, which I think could be quite nice. In that case, I would assume they would take down the stage. But regardless, I think, again, it adds something to the area overall. Alright, gonna quickly make sure there are a few more trees in there, so it looks the part as well. Alright, here we go. Now, this is filled in with some more trees, making this a bit more of an excluded area. If you need a break from the downtown life, but don't want to go too far. You get beautiful views of the entire area with the ocean in the back. You have these towers on both sides. I think overall that looks pretty nice. All right. So with that, we have added some capacity for healthcare and for deaf care in our industry area, which I think is overall good. Let's move on to some traffic fixes. So I think one of the big issues here is that a ton of them actually want to turn left. So we're gonna upgrade this road with a asymmetric part to it. And I should select the asymmetric road, 5-lane asymmetric. And it doesn't quite want to move this in there. What if we, no, even if we try to go straight through. So quick pause. Height of realism, gonna remove that road, start from back here, and just move that asymmetric. It actually doesn't like it at all. All right, let's go straight out, or straight-ish out. Make sure we're upgrading this in the other direction. Seriously. It is the other direction that is causing the issue. All right, so let's go ahead and move this out a little bit more. I don't think we need a ton of space. And if we turn off snapping, I'm hoping that once we place this in here properly, just moved it over the smallest bit, but it was enough to add this extra lane in here. All right. Now we're just going to connect this back up. Just like that, and that will ultimately help us. We're also going to make sure that we have a asymmetric road going in this way. And a 3-lane asymmetric is exactly what we're looking for. So this way, I'm hoping at least, the traffic will be sorted somewhat. Now there's only one lane to turn, which is a bit of a bummer. But I think actually the biggest issue is that people are trying to get into here from both sides. And that, yeah, is just not working out for us. So back to the drawing board. All right, I'm going to pause this. We're going to move the parking lot back as far as we can, and I'm hoping we have made enough space for it. Maybe it is time to do it the other way around. First, remove a big chunk of our surface until we have placed it properly, and then we're filling in the surface around it. Ooh, this has already filled up to the brim. Which makes me think this is not good enough. What about the other parking lot? We do have an underground parking here. Wow, you're also completely full. Ooh, okay, let's have a look at our parking spots. Maybe actually an automated parking building in this area would make sense, considering the amount of traffic that is going on over here. And we do have a little bit of extra space in this corner, which next to the cinema, next to the art museum, could actually make some sense. Alternatively, we could consider moving this one again. So let's actually go ahead and first unlock our automated parking building so we get a feel for how big it is. Yeah, it would need to go in close to this area right here, but it is humongous. We could place it there, remove that park, and the nightlife area, but that we could just move somewhere else. For example, even if we move it into the corner here. Let's do that. Make sure it is connected up. There we go. Although those people might not enjoy it that much that there's a nightclub right in front of their house. Alright, with that out of the way, let's actually quickly pause this, remove the park for now, remove those buildings as well, and then go into our parking area and put down an automated parking building. Probably should remove this part as well for now. And then we'll see if we can't rotate it. That is actually quite nice. However, it interferes with our water park, which we're just going to place a bit over, like slightly in a different area. That's actually, since we're at it, try to center this over here. And you could think that you enjoy the water park. Maybe this is for like smaller kids, and the bigger kids can still go into the ocean. All right, with that, we should have enough space over here now for our automated parking building. Just right there. Only need to make sure that it is properly connected. No, we're not placing a second one. All right, here we go. And it kind of fits in with these towers, although not quite. No, I don't like it. Bye. It is nice to have so much money these days, because that allows me to place and remove things as I just see fit. I really wish it would actually tell me how many parking spots there actually are in here. Alright, we're going to add that parking lot right there. We're going to add our roads back in, and you don't need to watch me do this. I'm just gonna be back once I'm done. Alright, with that, this part is done, and I did realize with the water park back in this area, what we should really do is make better use of this corner right here. Yes, part of it would be in the water if I keep it like this. Multi-purpose park. It could actually be really nice over here if we're just extending a road on the side. Let's have a look what it looks like. Now we would need to move out the coast a bit too much. All right. So instead, let's look what other things. Large playground that can actually go next to the basketball court. I'm always a big fan of playgrounds, so happy to accommodate. Dog activity park. Yeah, not here, mates. Let's try to put it in like that. Just a elongated one. I know it has some fences and I wish it didn't, but can't have it all, right? And that overlaps, of course it does. So let's see what other parks we might have here. Again, not the campsite. And I can't believe I haven't placed the campsite yet, in all honesty. But actually, maybe the dog activity park right next to it, but it doesn't actually connect up. Put another cafe in there, and then just make sure we're actually connecting up the paths. Alright, here we go. Making this just a tiny bit prettier by placing a gazebo over there. And again, turning this into more of a place to visit, which I think it is becoming more and more. Alright, road is in. And then let's have one more look at small fountains, just like that, and I think that will do. All right, now we have a bit more parking over here. We still need to sort this one out. But having seen like all the chaos from this, I think what we really need to do, I need to bulldoze this. And we're going to have a road, a little alley coming out from the end of it. So I want people to leave that intersection, go down as far as they can, and we can actually connect this up. So let's put it in like this. And continue the alley just over to this side. All right, now we can place not only a parking garage, but this will be front faced by some smaller, what is this actually, solar panel? No. Let's see how big a parking lot we can get away with, and this will actually do. All right. So again, increase the parking overall and make sure we're already adding the height to it because it seems like it just needs it. We still have the parking next to it, which I think is great. And then we'll just turn our surfaces a bit closer to our parking lot again. There we go. All right, I think overall that is doing the trick. And hopefully, because we have moved that road further back, this area right here will not block as much traffic anymore. In addition, we wanna just make sure that things look a little bit nicer here and are, you know, good for our people to just chill. There we go. That's a little bit small. This is perfect, actually. And just in the other direction as well. So there's a little bit of a park area out front. Some areas to sit down and just wait. And I think overall that looks pretty nice. All right. We're also just gonna fill in the empty gaps with some more trees. And yes, it's going to be the oak trees just to keep the vegetation appropriate. And I'm not going to talk through this, so I'll see you in a little bit. All right, here we go. So I think with that, this area here is doing a lot better, and we have added a significant amount of amenities for our people in this section. It did come at the cost of violating the terrain a little bit, but yeah, hope you guys forgive me for that. Overall, nonetheless, so to speak, I'm still hoping that it'll overall look good. And I think we need to actually remove the street light over here, because I want this traffic over this way to be prioritized. So let's remove that, and we're also going to remove the pedestrian crossings over here. Actually, we do need one, don't we? At least in this direction. But if they can avoid crossing here, they can always walk back down here and then cross this direction, which I think will ultimately help quite a bit. Might also be worthwhile, now that I think about this, to turn this into a small 2-lane road if we had one, and we do not. So let's make that a one-way and make this a one-way. Actually, I don't need this bottom part to be a one-way. They can always go in here. All right. With that, again, some more stuff fixed. There are not enough customers. Wonder why? What kind of customers do you... Oh, wow. Only 6 rented rooms. So we need to focus a little bit more on getting tourists in here. And that brings me perfectly into the next segment, local transportation. So we have a couple of bus routes, but we never connected up our industry area back here. So that's exactly what we just need to do right now. And we're gonna plan to have a bus stop over here on both sides. Let's make another one not too far away, actually. Let's have it here and there. And then one more bus stop at towards the end of this section right there. So this will be perfect for our bus route that provides service to our industry area. And we're just gonna take this, pull this through, and connect it up to this particular area. And just hook up all the bus stops to have a there and back again bus route. Again, just bringing our people to their workplaces. All right, so that was an easy fix. So I'm happy with that. However, our entire tourist area is not included. And I think to have a route back and forth between our tourist area and our residential area could make sense, but also just having a big island loop moving around here, which I think will ultimately be even better. And we're not going to connect it all up, but we want to go from our main street here. Actually, let's just pick this part here. We want to, oh, I should actually first place some bus stops along the line here. So can we add, it does not like this. I'm not entirely sure why. So I'm hoping to get our bus actually to come in here, drop people off there. Oh, interesting. We can actually place it on the pedestrians road. Don't want to do that though. So let's place one more bus stop here. Then our big road continues over there. Don't want to place the bus stop right in front of the hotel. So instead we're placing it in front of the art museum. And I think that will work quite nicely. And then we have bus stops over there and throughout. So that should just do the trick for us. Now, making a bus route, we're gonna start from this part right here, making sure we're hitting all the spots. Going into our industry area, and I see the issue. All right, let's quickly pause that. And we are actually moving these bus stops over to the side of the road. Connecting this line into here on both sides, and then we're going to remove those two bus stops, which I think ultimately will help. All right, another try. Start from here, drag it out over to this way, over here, connect there, stop one bus stop in our industry area, one bus stop in our secondary industry area. I think that kind of makes sense. Then we're also going to make sure we're stopping here. Who's turning around here? I might have not properly connected these up. We'll see in a minute. One stop here, one stop there, and then the full connection over here. And we're gonna do the same route, just in the opposite direction. So we have a city loop and a clockwise city loop and a counterclockwise city loop. However, I have not placed the bus stops on both sides here. Oh my, oh my. All right, let's place it here, there. And actually, let's place it on this side before it turns around the corner. And now do this again. I guess we can start from over this way. Connect all through here. Into this one, this one. And to the end. All right, now let's have a look at our new bus lines, 4 and 5. This is island clockwise, counterclockwise, and this is island clockwise. And this is just, what should we call it? Let's call it the, you know what, let's just call it the red line and turn it red. So our island buses, they can be green, and we're just picking different shades of green. And then we have different shades of turquoise for the circular clockwise and counterclockwise. All right, there we go. One thing that we can actually do is put a taxi stop somewhere, which I think this area would definitely benefit from. So could have actually put in a bus station and try to yeah, right. Connected over here, technically close to the beach would somewhat make sense, I think, but we've fully built this up already. So let's not worry about the bus station, but we are going to place a couple of taxi depots, taxi stops, not depots. It does not like to be placed on the small area here. Where could we place a taxi? I don't want people to be dropped off by the taxi right in front of the beach. That just seems wrong. So I guess we will just put in a couple of taxi stops. Actually, you only need one, right? So let's place it. I don't want to place it in front of here. Let's give it its own designated road. How about that? Take the alleyway, make a little corner out of this way, connect it up into this part, and then no vehicles. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. And then we're placing our taxi stops not underground. Why is it not snapping? I guess, yeah, it really doesn't like the no sidewalk approach over here. So you know what? Let's add the sidewalk. Because I think, especially right next to the museum, it just makes sense to have, you know, first of all, a taxi and be able to find some shelter just before, like, when you go there and the rain hits. So it just makes sense. All right. In addition, let's go in here. We have 13 buses on the red line. 7, definitely plenty. All right. And that should solve our bus issue here, I'm hoping. They're actually still connecting things to the island clockwise. 10. No. We're gonna do 5 and 5 in the opposite direction. That will be plenty for this little island. All right. Back over here. Let's have a look at what happened. It's the green line that is causing an issue. Has this solved it? Alright, let's have a look. Not quite. Alright, this part here just needs to disappear. And then I think it has solved it. There we go. Green line is now doing the round in this way. Let's have a look at the others. That's the one we had just looked at. That's the circular one, which is over this way. Yep. Then we have the island one. That's actually the one we had looked at. Okay, it looks about right. It's the island clockwise. Yeah, actually I'm not seeing what I want to see over here. Bottom line is though, I think it looks okay. Alright, one last thing for this episode. I finally want to place down our road maintenance depot. And that has been coming for a long period of time. So let's place it down in that dedicated spot that we have. And here we go. And with that, I might actually just call it an episode. We've done mostly just fixes, in a sense, but we've also created some great amenities for our citizens to, you know, just enjoy more of the landscape. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.